After being named Rookie of the Year in 1967, Dave Bing went on to become one of the most prolific scoring guards of his era. More than 40 years after his last game with Detroit, Bing still ranks in the top 5 in several categories in the Pistons record book.
Dave Bing, a finesse, classy player. Dave Bing could gather in that jump shot situation, and he would almost get in the ear and almost sit with it. I had the pleasure of playing against him and coaching him for a short period of time when he was with the Celtics. Dave Bing, long stride, quick man, getting to the basket.
Dave Bing outside. Bingo, and I'm glad to see it happen.
Well, again, Dave is a very intelligent man, as indicative of the fact that he was able to go out and try to run a city as a mayor later on in his life. And he kind of did that when he was with the Pistons. He knew who to get the ball to, when to get the ball to them. And if they needed points to score, he would score points for them. And so that's the kind of guard that I always prefer to play with, a guard who was looking to set up his teammates first. But if you needed him to score, he could do that as well. And that's the kind of player that Dave Bing was.
Elvin Hayes is playing his own defense. Bing steals the ball. Lead pass from Jones. Bing has to gather it in and lay it up and in.
Well, what a great play by Dave Bing.
When I think about Dave Bing, when he was playing with Detroit, I think about speed. I try to equate players that would play well today. And with his speed and his outside shot and his drive to the basket and a great athlete, played over the rim, today it's much easier for the guards to be a guard's game because if the court is spread out for the three-point shot, there's hardly any big shot blockers in the league anymore. Dave Bing would really be a big-time player in today's game, but he's pretty darn good in the old days, too.
Bing is open. What a game he's played. He gets my vote.
Dave Bing is one of the great guards who's ever played. He's just tough. I mean, offensively, he's tough. He was 6'3", could really jump, and he really jumped over smaller guards, such as myself. Very difficult to guard.
In an era where lead guards were known more as distributors, Dave Bing was somewhat of a trailblazer, credited with being the first scoring point guard in league history.
Yeah, and that's because of the team he played for, the Pistons in the 60s. They needed buckets from Bing, and he gave it to him. He led the NBA in scoring in 1968. His career scoring average was 20 points. He wasn't a selfish player by any means, but they needed buckets from him.
No question they needed buckets. Now tell me about his upbringing, because apparently his game was so nice on the black court, he made one of his childhood friends give up basketball forever.
Yeah, well, he grew up in Washington, D.C. He suffered an eye injury as a kid, and the family was too poor to have surgeries. So he really lived with that eye injury, and it really affected him the rest of his life. But going back to growing up on the hard courts in Washington, D.C., I mean, he would beat his friends and pick up basketball. One friend in particular was so distraught over losing to Dave Bing that he gave up his dreams of being a basketball player and turned to singing. And that kid was Marvin Gaye.
Wow. Dave Bing led the NBA in scoring in 1968, and he was trouble.
With Bingo, first time I saw him was with Detroit. And, running up and down the court. And I think he was more right-handed than going, crossing over and stuff like that. And people say, oh, you was trying to guard him. No, I was trying to contend with him, okay, to keep him from going to the basket because he was good at going to the basket. I didn't know Dave Bing could jump that high.